Yo, what's up everybody? I am 12G's Gaming. As you may or may not already know, my name is Smith, and welcome back everybody. And I just realized I forgot to flip and change the title to the stream again. Hold on. Give me just a second. Oh man, I know exactly what to call this. There we go. So, I'm not going to change the thumbnail for this one because I actually do not have that one prepared. Today, I'm going to be basically showing people how they can take their VRCHAT gameplay up to the next level in terms of model making and stuff. Now, for those of you that don't know, just like I used to stream VRCHAT, I actually still do play VRCHAT, and I'll talk about it from time to time. But today I'm going to actually show you guys how you can upgrade, or not necessarily upgrade, but like I said, take your, well, VRCHAT gameplay to the complete next level. So I have Blender open right here. But instead of what most people do, they'll say, okay, you know, we're going to use like the Unity Asset Store, or more commonly, we're going to use DeviantArt. In all honesty, as an actual model maker, like I've created models before, not like take a DeviantArt face, DeviantArt hair, and DeviantArt all this other stuff. I've done the Frankenstein work before, but I've actually gone one step further and actually completely made a model from scratch, molding and sculpting cubes just like what you see highlighted in the gold. Molded them, sculpted them, put a skeleton in them, rigged it up, and literally made it into something that could be used in VRCHAT. But today what I'm going to show you is literally how you can take stuff from actual modeling websites and use it as game assets for Unity, and show you how to make sure it will work. So, since it is in screen capture mode right now, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a website that I started using when I started to take more of a serious role into this. You can use DeviantArt, but sometimes you can't find the right things for it. And besides, what we're going to be looking at today are specifically a sword or an axe or a bow or something. So, what I recommend you do is, I mean, you can use the asset store, but they don't always have the best stuff, and you can't work those out all the time the right way. So, what I recommend you guys check out is, let me make sure it's out of the way of the subscribe thing. By the way, if you enjoy what you're seeing on my channel, don't forget to subscribe. Maybe we can actually hit that 150 number. Every single click. Oh, goodness. I appreciate it more than anything. So, what I recommend you do is you go and check out a website called free3d.com right there. You do not have to create an account for this website. This is also the very same website that I started with. In this case, though, we're literally just going to go over here and we're just going to type sword. Now, there are, like, paid-for things right here, but you can get some pretty interesting looking stuff from here. Like, I mean, there's probably already some things that people are looking at that are, you know, already catching people's eyes. Which brings up another thing I can tell you. As an actual model maker and someone that uses stuff like this, the biggest piece of advice I can give to any of you is use all your assets. Go on Google or whatever you use and actually look up 3D model websites. Not all of them I consider trustworthy, but Free3D is a good place to start. They actually have some stuff that's actually better than, believe it or not, some stuff that I've seen from actual professional modeling websites. So we're just going to choose somewhat of a random one this time. Let's take a look. Let's see what we have here. Okay, so when you're going through a model website, the first thing you need to remember in the back of your head is what file format you're going to use. In Free3D, it's these down here. It's the whatever folder it is. In this case, the Spartan Sword, it comes in a .3ds, a .obj, a .blend, and a .fbx. If it comes as a .fbx, you don't have to do anything in Blender. You can literally just download it, unzip the folder. I'd recommend scanning it before, like with your antivirus, just to make sure you're not, you know, because you can never be too sure. I literally scan every single folder that I get, because, you know, you just never know. But like, let's take it from another example, like this one right here, OBJs and C4Ds. Things like this cannot be imported via CATs. You know, the CATs plugin. These you actually have to go. Let me move this Google panel out of the way. What you would do is you would hit File, go to Import, and that's what allows you to import all the other stuff. Now I have a few other plugins, like normally XPS wouldn't be there. If you go to export, you know, normally this wouldn't be here, normally that wouldn't be here, and I actually found a way to export an X file, but I still do not know how to import one yet. There's still some things I'm learning. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this right here. Now I'm going to open up my folder right here, and I'm just going to go over to basically a folder on my computer. You can hear the as I'm going through all of my folders and stuff. What do we have here? Do I have a spot for this? No, I do not. Okay, so I'm literally just gonna, I know you can't see it, but I'm gonna make a file in this place over here called Sword. And I prefer to actually number my files. There we go. And what I do is, that way I can always go back to the link, is I'll literally copy the link and drag it into the file. So that way, what I can do is, that way I don't have to, like, this is a little tip I can give to you. Copy the actual URL and put it in the folder, like this right here. Put it in the folder. Literally what you do, you just highlight it, and then you hold left click, and then you drag it, and then you can just put it in there. Let me do it like this. Okay, so highlight it, and you can just drag it in there. You just drop it in there. And what I'll be able to do is, if I want to see what the model is without having to like open up Blender or something again, all I'll have to do is just simply do that, and I'll be able to see it. And hello, Moonlight. Welcome. I hope you enjoy your stay. Okay. So, now that I've got that over there, it gives me a little preview. Now, when you're looking at models, another thing I recommend you look at is these. These are actually kind of important. Now that's somewhat worrying. Polygons, for those of you that have never played VRCHAT before, are literally what makes up models, basically. So I'm going to actually get a couple other tabs. There we go. Let's grab one more. If we can. Grab that one. Okay, so if one of them fails, we have like a few more to look at. Okay. So, This model does not have any textures, does not have any materials, is not rigged, not animated. All we want to do is make sure, one, it'll show up in Blender, which this is the part that's a little worrying about that, and two, whether or not it's rigged. Today, literally, what I am doing is, and this will probably answer your question too, Moon Knight. What this is going to do is it's going to show you literally how you can take models that are not rigged, like do not have bones in them whatsoever, and use basically Blender to fix that problem, allowing you to use it in Unity and put it on avatars, or put it in a world. Because everything needs to be at least an FBX in order to be used as a world object, but it needs to have a bone in it if you want it to actually be part of an avatar. And when I say part of an avatar, I mean, like, let's say you were wanting the sword to be actually the arm, not attached to an arm, not attached to the hand, but the sword itself was the actual arm. You would need to put a bone in it to make sure that worked. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do today. I'm not going to show you how to, like, attach it to an avatar like that, but I'm going to show you how you add a bone to it so that way it actually works. So, what we're going to do is we're just going to simply go over here to download. And I'm doing this live so that way you can actually, you know, believe that what I'm showing you is actually what it is. So that way you don't think it's like a virus you're downloading or something. So when you hit download, you get this right here. This one's a .rar, and it'll tell me all the file formats it downloads with it. And there we go. Now, .rars or .7 zips, which are .7z files. Okay, so I'm just going to open another folder. It'll pop open my downloads right here, and oh, I forgot to delete that. Hold on a minute. That's a MMD right there. Okay, so right here is the actual file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to drag it over here, and now I can just delete the one in the downloads folder, because this one's on a separate drive, so when I go and put it over here, it copies it. So I can just go and close that now. And we're going to drag this window over here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to minimize it so I can still see the chat. So, what I now do is I go and do a step 2. I right-click it, and I scan it with my current antivirus, which is AVG, and everything looks good. I'll exit off, and now I'll take you can either do one of two things. You can take something called WinRAR, or you can take something called 7-zip. I currently use 7-zip. We're just going to move through this. Where is it? As you can see, I have these are all like model related things. In this case, free 3D. There it is right there. So here it is. Now you can actually preview what's in these things by simply double clicking it, and there it is right there. But what we're going to do is we're going to right click it. Maybe next episode. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click it, we're going to go to 7-zip right here, and we're going to go to extract here. This little load, and there we go. We no longer need this, and when we go back to the file, everything is there. Got a couple previews. There we go. So for those of you that do not know what this is actually from, which, you know, for a while there was actually a time I did not play the game that this was from. This is a Dragonbone sword specifically from a game by the Elder Scrolls franchise called Skyrim. Now this one does come with a blend file. If this is the case, you can literally just double click this and it'll open Blender for you. But in this case, I'm going to show you how to do it if this doesn't exist, because this isn't always here. If it does, just double click it and it will already load it in there for you. But in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to look at it via OBJ. An FBX, you could just simply drag that over, but that's too easy in this case. We're going to go with the more common format, which is you have to take the file, import it into Blender via the old-fashioned way, which is you go up to File and then you import it manually instead of using the CATS plugin, and do it that way. You can import an FBX via CATS, but you don't always get what you need. Sometimes the actual bones in that will be all wonky and you have to refix it. Oh my goodness. The amount of horror stories I've had where I've had to literally rearrange an entire skeleton just to get an avatar to work. That's actually something that, another little thing I do need to warn some of you new model makers about when you use purely MMD models. Every now and then, you will run across a case where you have to fix an armature to the point where you have to add bones. If you want to know how to, fix an avatar like that, where you actually have to add bones to it, these are usually the cases where you'll make an avatar, you'll put it in Unity, like you'll put it in Blender, you'll put it in Unity, you'll upload it to VRCHAT, and you'll, like, let's say, hit the crouch button, or you'll prone, and the avatar just simply does not go in the floor. It remains standing for everyone else, but when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, if you're on the ground or crouching, instead of the avatar bending over or getting on the ground and crawling, when you move, your avatar literally just phases in the floor, and it'll have, like, just the head sticking out. If you want to know how to fix that, hit the like button on this video, and I'll make that. Well, maybe one day, Moon Knight. Okay, so to prepare this for an OBJ file, what we're going to do is, since Cats is not going to do this for us, what we need to do is we need to get rid of these three things. Now, for those of you that have never worked Blender before, you can kind of see it right here, but literally this is what this is. For those of you that don't know, Blender is what is known as a free animation software. For those of you that are a bit younger, you will probably know Blender through Minecraft animations. That's a very common thing you'll see with this. But over here on our left, this is what we call the camera. This is what literally views an animation throughout the video. This is what we call a Blender cube. This is what everyone uses to model stuff with, which that's a story for another time. And right here we have a light source. We do not need any of these, so we're literally going to right click it to highlight it and just hit X on our keyboard. It's a hotkey for delete. We're just going to get rid of all of it. Now, for those of you that have tried out Blender for the first time and you end up left clicking, you'll notice this little cursor follows you. If you end up spawning in another object with the create tool, the cubes or anything else will spawn on that point. And instead of basically, hold on, got something in my, there we go. Okay. So that way no one here has to basically spend an hour trying to recenter the thing. Literally all you have to do is just hit Shift C and it will recenter it for you. And if there's lots of other things in your scene, this big old preview window right here is called a scene. If there's like a cube over here, and a cube way off over here, it will actually, and your cursor's right there, when you hit Shift C, it will put that cursor and your camera in the preview window, which is what you're using to see it. It will put it in the center point of all of that. So sometimes it'll scroll out, sometimes it'll scroll in. But anyway, back to what I was doing. I'm going to go up here to File. We're going to go to Import, and we're going to go to Wave Format OBJ. So what we're going to do is we're going to find that folder right here. There it is. There we go. If it does not, if the file format you're looking for does not show up, try it in a different one, or actually go back to your file and making sure that you're looking at the right one, because Blender is actually obvious to tell you what type of file format you're getting. So there we go. We've imported it into our instance, and here it is right now. This is currently nothing but a mesh. As you can see, we can't even, do anything. It just says import model. So we can't, like simply hit the fix button. Normally what you could do is just simply take this the old-fashioned way, but in this case we're going to make it to where cats will recognize it. So right now it's just the mesh folder, or not mesh folder, the mesh, just the mesh. For those of you that don't know what a mesh is, like you don't understand it, literally a mesh is what allows you to see a model. That's what it is. That's literally what a mesh is. It's what the model's appearance is. So, a good way to think of it is the mesh on an avatar is the skin on a creature. Like, on a human, like, let's say a real-life person. I'm speaking so fast I can't talk right. On a real-life person, mesh for us is what we call skin. So hopefully that makes enough sense, and it's vice versa for a model. The skin of a model, like you were saying with a wolf avatar, the skin of a wolf avatar is the mesh. So hopefully that, would explain that. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to do a simple key control. We're going to hold Shift and A at the same time, and we're going to get this little add window. I'm going to go to armature, and we're going to hit single bone. There we go. We've got the start of what could be a skeleton for something. But in this case, we're just going to use this to form the handle of this whole thing. And you can see I actually got something over here now. This whole little window right here, I'll actually expand it. This is called the hierarchy. This is where everything in your preview window, or your scene, will show up. So, normally you could just stop right here, but we're going to actually make this so where it's easier to deal with in Unity. So what we're going to do is I'm going to hold Control, and I'm going to hold left click on the green arrow, and it will snap. If you don't hold Control, it smoothly moves around. And if you mess up, just Control Z. Now, unlike Unity, you can't redo something, it can only undo, so you want to make sure that if you're really working on something, you don't redo something too much. So we're going to just simply move this over to the handle, or you could right click the actual model mesh again, and while holding Control, you could actually move it that way. So in this case, now while holding Shift, I can now, the way you're able to look around, by the way, is you just simply hold the middle mouse button, scroll in, scroll out, holding in scroll wheel, and if you hold Shift while holding in scroll wheel, you can actually strafe instead of just turn. And scroll wheel while holding Shift allows you to move up and down. Pretty cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit Tab, or if you don't want to use Tab, you can just simply click this right here. We're going to want to go to Edit mode. It will automatically go to the what is known as the tail of the bone. The head of the bone is what's here at the thicker part. The tail of the bone is what's right here. So in this case, I'm going to hold Control. I'm going to use the green arrow. I'm going to move it out twice, and then I'm going to use the blue arrow and go down once. Now I'm going to select the whole bone back in object mode. I'm going to basically use the freehand, and I'm just going to kind of line it up. You don't have to do this, but this is just something that's like a personal preference for me. I'm going to go back to edit mode, and now I'm going to actually make the bone go a little bit further. Okay, so we have a bone where we want it. We have the head next to the base, and we have this on the tail. If you were to, let's say, make this sword to where you could actually, fold it, what you would do is you would basically extend this bone or add other bones down through the blade, and then you would fuse it to it. Now, in this case, since we're not trying to do that, we're actually going to do a much simpler thing. But see, since there's now an actual armature bone in there, the fixed model thing comes up, and everything works. But we cannot just simply hit fixed model or export, otherwise we're just going to literally export nothing, because the armature is the only thing we'd be exporting. We would actually not be exporting the sword mesh with the skeleton of it, which is this one bone. So what we're going to do is we're going to, instead of right click, we're going to left click the mesh in the hierarchy, and then while holding Shift, you can also, while in the preview window, you can hold Shift and right click the bone, but in this case, just to keep it easier, we're going to hold Shift, left Shift or right Shift. I prefer left Shift. Actually, I've never tried right Shift. Yeah, it works with right Shift. So holding left Shift, left shift, I'm going to left click the armature. And what this has done is this is actually set up something called the parenting mode. It's not like an actual literal mode. What it is the way that the parenting system works. And parenting literally means you're taking one thing and you're making it all connected to one specific point. So if I were to have done the armature first, and then while holding shift, then left click the mesh, that means the bone would be literally connected to the mesh. This is not what we want to do. We want to make sure that everything is connected to the armature, because the armature is what's going to allow everything to work correctly and allow everything to show up correctly. Now, you can do it backwards, but it can lead to errors in the future, so I'm going to do it right the first time, so that way you can actually use this for things in the future, because I guarantee you that at one point or another, doing it backwards is going to really mess it up for you, so it's better to just do it right the first time. So, left click the mesh. If there's multiple meshes, you just simply click it, or you can literally click this mouse right here, and it'll make it to where you cannot select that. You literally click A while your mouse is in the hierarchy or in the preview window, and it will select everything but that armature. Or if you don't want the armature, which is this bone right here, to show it all, you just simply hit this little I and it disappears. It's not gone, it's just invisible. But in this case, since there's only two, I'm just going to simply left click that while holding shift, left click the armature. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control P, and it'll give me the parent window. Now, if we were wanting this to be something like, let's say, an actual avatar, what we would do is we'd hit with automatic weight paints, and what this would do is it would merge the mesh to the armature in such a way where when we actually go to move our arms, like move the bones on the skeleton for the actual avatar, it would actually move the mesh. Otherwise, if you didn't do this, it actually wouldn't move. The armature would move and the skeleton would move, but you would literally look like you're just doing the Gmod like T-pose, or, you know, basically your avatar would just be a statue. In this case, though, since we're not trying to make it move really, we're just going to do object. And now what it is, if I expand it right here, the mesh of the sword is now part of the armature. Now what we can do is we can actually hit fix model, and there we go. Now the texture will completely show and everything, and I don't know where that texture actually came from, because it said it didn't have textures, but there we go. Since we've hit fix model, it all works. Now, you could go ahead and export it from here, but we're going to take it one step further so that way there is no problems with it. We're going to go to model options. I'm going to expand this a little bit, and we're going to join all the meshes. Now, sometimes, just from experience, sometimes hitting all will miss a few. So what I'll do is, after hitting all, I'll do each of them individually again, and then hit this all button right here. Now, these are two different things. This is specifically meshes. This is in case if you had like 13 meshes and you all wanted them to be ones, that way it was quote-unquote optimized. You would just simply hit all. And to make sure Unity sees everything in English, because sometimes these models have their like bones or meshes set up in different languages. And what this does is it translates all of it. So once again, bones, materials, objects, shape keys. I go in that U, and then I'll hit all one more time. What I do is I do them individually, and then I'll hit all, because if I hit all and then do it, it'll still do the same thing. But the point is that by doing them manually, then doing all of it, or doing all of it and then doing them manually, guarantees that there's going to be nothing that is missed. Now, normally with an actual avatar, you go to eye tracking, and then you'd hit advisings to make the eyes move, and then make the mouth move. But in this case, since we're not trying to do that, well, all we're going to do is we're going to go down a little bit further to optimization, drop that down, go to material. We're going to hit combine same materials. This is in case if you have literally two, 3, 4, or 5 different materials that are literally all the exact same. Clicking that will turn it into one, and it will actually optimize your model that much further. Now, in some cases, you'll see this right here, convert textures to PNG. We're going to click this, There we go. It says right there, converted 0 files to PNGs. That's fine. Sometimes when you're dealing with models, or most of the time it's with MMDs of all things, the texture files are actually something called .dds files, which are something I've found that you can really only ever see while in Unity. What this does is it makes it so that way you do not have to like load up another program to actually see what you're looking at. But now that that's done, now what we can do is we can go to export. And I'm just going to literally go right here and I'm just going to number it and just hit export. And now when I go back over here to the export file, there it is, right there. And now you can just simply drop it into your Unity instance and you're good to go. So, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this. If you think this is going to help out someone else that's beginning to do model work, share this video to them. Maybe they can actually find some useful tips out of this. If you liked the video, don't forget to like. If you want more of this type of stuff, don't forget to subscribe. Or if you just enjoy what I do in general, don't forget to subscribe. Oh, and before I forget, if you really do, if anyone here really does genuinely want me to show them how you actually, I just bumped my mic, show them actually how you basically fix avatars and stuff like that, let me know, and I will do it for you. I'll actually show you how to do it. Wait a minute. Before I let you go, there's one more thing I need to show you. Sometimes when you're dealing with models, the polygons are too high. If that's simply the case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click the mesh. I'm going to go to this little wrench right here. I'm going to go to add modifier and I'm going to go to decimate. And what it'll do is it'll tell me how many faces it has, and what I can do is I can either drag this and decimate it that way, or I can just simply click and I can put in a number like 0.5, and you'll notice up at the top the number changes. This is that way you can actually fit it within the VRCHAT polygon limit a little bit better. But that was the only other thing I wanted to show you guys. So with that said, wherever you girls and guys alike are, God bless you. I hope you're having a good morning, evening, afternoon, or night. And I'll talk to you guys and girls again next time. Bye everybody. God bless.